Okay, welcome. I'm about to bring in some wonderful people. We're going to have a discussion. So, first, I'm going to bring in Daryl Smith Sr. Hi, Daryl. Can you hear me?
Hello, how you doing? Hello,
Great, great. Good to see you.
you too.
Now, I'm going to bring in Jermaine Washington.
Hey everybody.
Hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, great. And Lanita DeVore.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
All
So we
right.
can hear everyone. There was one other guest. I think he's still having a little problem getting on. But if you all can introduce yourself, starting with you, Daryl.
Say that one more time. I couldn't hear
If you
that.
could just introduce yourself.
Okay, hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Daryl Smith, Sr. Originally from Elizabeth, New Jersey, but been living here in Washington, D.C. since my college years, 1987.
Okay. And Lanita.
Hi, I'm a Washington native. I'm currently a real estate agent with eXp Realty, and I have opinions.
All right. And Jermaine, who is already graced us with his presence prior to on another live.
Hi everybody. Jermaine Washington, native Washingtonian. I currently work for Department of Human Services as a case manager for homeless families transitioning out of the shelters.
Okay, I'm glad you all are here. And what we're going to do is let me see if I can just see if my other guest is still having an issue. Let me see. Um, he was having an issue with his phone. Come on, because we can get several people up in here. Okay, so we're here to discuss what happened on yesterday, which really was a culmination of what has been happening for the last 4 years. So tell me, you can, whoever want to start first, when it started off with them, trying to certify the votes, but we knew something else was happening, I guess, up this road with the gathering of the folks and the actual. Let me show you. Did you all see before the what should I refer to him as?
Number 45.
Okay, number 45. Before number 45 went on stage, did you see them under or behind the stage what they were doing? Did you see that footage?
No, I didn't watch any of his the speech at the rally. I tuned in afterwards when the rally was over with and they were marching down towards the Capitol.
Okay.
I refuse to listen to anything he has to say about his political stance or political ideas. I don't listen to it when he talks.
Okay, I'm going to show you. Let me see if I can share my screen. I'm going to just show you how they were gathered and what they were doing prior to him going to address his whatevers, his Trumpsters or whatever you want to call them. Okay, I'm going to share this screen. One moment. Share the screen. We're going to Chrome. I think it's, which one is it? I think it's this one. Is it this one? Let's see. Do I have the right one? Okay. Okay. Can you see? Can you see me scrolling?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. I don't know if you all can you hear the music playing?
No, I can't hear any music.
It's muted.
They're singing Gloria. They're playing Gloria.
It's muted. I can't
But this
hear
is
you.
them and him. This is before he goes on stage, and they're looking at all the people, and they're just so excited before he really goes to incite the violence. This is their state. They think they're just in their glory. Okay, let's cut them out. Okay. So that was that. Now, so that's what they were doing while they were trying to certify the votes. So now, when you first saw or heard about what was happening, the siege on the Capitol, what was your thoughts? Oh, where did Daryl go? Okay. What was your thoughts? What was your thoughts? Okay, looks like Jermaine, you're okay. If you want to start, Jermaine.
I thought I was looking at a Hollywood movie. I'm actually
Okay.
went on Facebook and kind of teased it because with me, in order for me to overcome adversities and trauma like that, I try to add some humor to it. But I mean, I thought I was looking at a Hollywood movie. I call it the Capitol Breach. I mean, remind me, it was like we was watching the movie White House Down or something like that. I mean, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, that this was actually happening. And not actually happened, it actually happened in the nation's capital. And we're supposed to be one of the most secure cities, law enforcement. You have the FBI, Homeland Security, Department of Justice, all the three-letter alphabets that you can possibly name is right here in our nation's capital. And I just couldn't believe what I was actually seeing in real time. I still didn't believe it. I'm still like, I'm stuck in a bubble. It's like, did this really happen? That could not have happened, not in our nation's capital.
Okay, what about you, Daryl?
You know, I sat here, and let me say this: I'm a lover of history. Ever since I was a little kid, I love history. I was a double major in college. Part of it was, I was a history major in sociology. And I sat here in my den, looking at what was happening, and tears came to my eyes. Because like Mr. Washington, Jermaine, or Mr. Washington just said, I felt like this was something out of the movies. I always say that sometimes movies dictate life. In this term, it was life dictating a movie when that I was seeing before me. And I just sat there as a parent and as a grandparent. I thought to myself, this world that our kids, my grandchildren, have to look forward to is going to be far different than the one that I came up in, as was the one that my parents came up in. But the difference in the two is that our parents looked at the world in terms of what we would come up in. It was a hope. Things were changing for the better. And what I look at now, I feel like we're taking steps backwards, and the divisions that we have in the country is so, we're so divisive. Even, I grew up in a, with Black, white, Hispanic, and I find myself, the white kids, I went to a white Catholic high school. I've lost childhood friends because it pains me that they can't see what white privilege looks like. And what we saw on the steps of our capital, of our nation's capital, was white privilege. And for those who would sit there and say, what are you talking about? Therein lies the problem, that you can't even see it, because we all know that if those same participants had been of a different color, we will be having a far different type of discussion today.
Definitely.
Throughout the country. And so it's just painful to see, I felt pain and despair. So that was my feelings.
Okay, Lanita. You're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was
Okay.
pressing the wrong thing. Well, I will say that I think of Maya Angelou. When people tell you who they are or show you who they are, believe them the first time. Mr. Trump told us we were going to have something crazy was going to happen. He exhorted these people to come. They were getting riled up. I saw them on Facebook. I knew this was going to happen. So I just waited. It's funny, I was on a coaching call. I had the television set on because I was waiting. I actually had to hang up, get off the coaching call because I was riveted. I knew it was going to happen, but I still couldn't believe it. What really surprised me was not that they did that. Mr. Trump told us they were going to do that. What
Yeah.
surprised me is I didn't realize they would have the complicity of the US Capitol Police. I firmly believe that because there was a report a few days ago that the Secret Service is going to have to be gutted to root out the Trump sympathizers. And I thought,
Wow.
of course, especially when I saw the cops giving access to the Capitol property to these people, I thought, that's it. Everything, it was like clockwork. They went in, they occupied. Yes. You know, it almost has nothing to do with race because with Black Lives Matter, it was never going to happen.
Right.
We didn't have that relationship with them. It's come on in, family. Come on in and occupy. And Mr. Trump wanted that because he wanted the disruption. I didn't realize that the other goal of the group was to kidnap and or kill some of the legislators. That's what Mr. Trump was condoning. And I won't take too long, but the other reason I just knew this was going to happen is because I've worked with people like Brett Kavanaugh, and I've worked with Trump's lawyers, and I didn't work with Bill Barr. He actually joined the firm just after I left. But I know what they're willing to do for power. A lot of things, and I knew this was going to happen, and I'm just jaded. I knew. And so the only thing I'm doing now is telling people when you hear something and it sounds far-fetched, just believe it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
If you don't say, I don't know why people do that, or I don't know what would make a person do that, or they could never mean it. They mean it. And allies. That's the one thing I've spent the last 4 years doing, gaining allies. People whom I might never have embraced, I embrace now because we're all allies because we have to be.
Definitely. And yes, what you all have expressed are my sentiments exactly. I was like, what in the world? But he kept saying, January the 6th, something big, it's going to be wild, and he is the one who from that stage said, let's go to the Capitol and stop the counting and the certification. So he definitely knew what he was doing. And when I saw the police actually move the barrier, and then the other guy was like, come on in. I'm like, wow. So yes, his sympathizers are present. They're going to have to gut out the Capitol Police. They're going to have to gut out like the Secret Service. They're going to have to gut out FBI, DOJ. I mean, it's just a lot of gutting. It's so ironic that he was there to drain the swamp when he was the swamp and his swamp buddies, so, and if you really listen to him, everything that he basically says, lock her up, lock him up, do this, do that, he's old, that he's feeble, it's really him. He's talking about himself. So, and it's playing right out. And you're like, wow, right before us, he's telling us who he is and what he's doing and what he's going to do and what he wants others to do. And they're just following along, they've drunk the Kool-Aid. So
just to take that discussion a little further about when they actually did reach the U.S. Capitol, at that time, all of our political leaders and even those that are in charge of our nation went under one roof. And if those terrorists, because that's what they were, if they actually could have pulled that off, caused some bodily harm or death to the Speaker of the House, to the minority leader. At that time, Biden wasn't there. I don't think he was there, but the Vice President was. He was there. Could you actually believe after they actually breached those doors and somebody had a semi-automatic weapon and took out half of our leaders, we will be looking at another 4 years of Donald Trump in office.
Mhm.
That's exactly what he set out to do, was to interrupt the electoral college counts and kill anyone as he possibly can in the path.
And I think
Yes.
people are missing that type of insight of what really could have happened, if they had gotten through to what their end goal was. And I think it's on us and people like us to make sure that people can understand what this really meant, because people they look at the windows being torn down and the demolition, but get past the small stuff and understand that, like you said, Jermaine, they would have taken out the Speaker of the House, the Vice President, the Senate Majority Leader. The succession rules say that Trump would still be president, because the new incoming president-elect, they were never certified. So let's kind of think about where this man, they have all day to sit around and think about these things.
Exactly.
Plot, plan. And I just don't buy into the fact that the Capitol Police, the FBI, the Secret Service, nobody, all the people that you have monitoring internet sites and things of that sort, that nobody knew that this was coming. They told you it was coming.
Yes.
Okay. So when you see the presence that was there, we've all been to the Capitol before, up that way. You can't get as close as these people were able to get. It just does not happen.
You can't even get close to the inner circle. That inner circle, there's a barricade. When you come up, I'm sorry for cutting you off, Daryl, but you can't get past that inner circle. When you come up Constitution Avenue or Pennsylvania Avenue, whichever way you come, and you go into that circle, there's a barricade right there. You can't even get past those steps. So I agree with you on that.
I learned this morning from Colin Powell that in situations like this, Homeland Security should have been involved, as well as the Coast Guard. I didn't know about the Coast Guard. There is a plan in place, but it wasn't implemented because it wasn't supposed to be.
Exactly.
Normally, this would not have happened, but Trump needed it to happen. I'm concerned about the people who agreed to help him. That scares me to death. Who are they?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was listening. No, go ahead, Cecilia.
Oh no, you can go on.
I was just saying, I was listening to a congressman member talk today in the House, and she indicated, they asked her the question, do you feel safe under the protection of the Capitol Police? And she quite honestly said, up until today, I would have said yes.
Wow.
I'm no longer sure about that anymore. Now, just think, this is a representative in our nation's Congress that doesn't feel safe in the House.
Wow.
Where our legislators meet. The people that are sworn to protect her, you don't know, she doesn't feel safe. So yes, it's going to take a gutting of the law enforcement, that serves our people.
Definitely. And it's really, I'm like, wow, I work at the
getting a lot of feedback.
Thurgood Marshall building. Is that my feedback or your feedback? Everybody good? Okay. Yeah, working at the Thurgood Marshall building, and being that close, walking up the street, it's like I'm so happy that I am. But they told us not even to think about going to the building, even though we've been working teleworking 100% since last March. So but just think how they were they were thugs, they were rioters, they were out of control, and how they just it looks like there were some police who were really trying to do their job, but they overran them. And they said that the Capitol Police, they were only 1/3 was working. Or, how do you just have, it's supposed to be almost over 2,000 Capitol Police, and you only have 1/3 working that day, knowing what was going to happen. But when you had the Black Lives Matter, I mean, it was a whole army standing on all the federal grounds, the Capitol, a whole army.
And the National Guard.
And they had their guns.
Yep. So, people want to say, well, how come leadership didn't have a plan in place and so forth to deal with this? That's not the question. There is a plan in place. Okay. There's always been a plan in place. As someone who used to work disaster recovery in the district here and working with multiple agencies for these type of events in 17 years in the military, there is a operational plan in place just for things like this. The failure was on leadership itself to implement the plan.
Yes.
Okay? And that is what scares me more than anything. That means you had people high that said that were complicit in doing this. And that just boggles your mind in our nation.
The chief was fired.
Right.
Or resigned. Did he resign or did he?
Well, he was fired, but he was permitted to resign.
Right, because Nancy called for that, for him and her, and Schumer was like, he needs to go.
Yes.
Just like the sergeant of arms.
Yep. And in each one of those people who were up there taking selfies.
Yes.
The ones who were opened up the gates, as if I was a fellow coworker, I would want them to leave. You wouldn't even have to come tell them. I would, report them, because now you're putting I think about that African-American guard that you saw, who, I don't know if anyone saw the video. He was there by himself. He had a stick. And let's talk about the composure that man had to show to stop from taking out his gun to protect himself. People want to say, oh, he was a coward, he was running. No, he was trying to show restraint and move back because he was alone. Okay. So now let's think about
he was calling on some
He was
help.
calling for people to come help him. How long did it take somebody to get there?
Exactly.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
On Facebook, people, and it's really bothered me because for the most part, it was Black people in my little group saying, why didn't he shoot them? Why didn't he shoot them? And I heard today, first of all, they're trained not to shoot if possible. Secondly, you've got an unarmed white man approaching a Black guy with a gun. How would that look if he had shot this man? It would not have looked good. And so he ran to assistance, but I felt so bad for him.
Yes.
I did. I would love for news media to find that officer. And let's find out what was going on in his mind and the things that were going through his head, his family. What are these people going to do? Would he have been in his right to pull out his gun and shoot them? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But the optics would have been different because there was a Black officer trying to subdue an incursion into a federal building, but yet he would have been looked at suspect. Right.
Yeah, and another image that was disheartening to me was the white police officer that was overwhelmed when they entered. I think that was the rotunda they were in. You can actually see the fear in his eyes. CNN, they stopped it for a second, and he had his mask on, but you can actually see this officer was in fear of his life because the Capitol has been overrun. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. The Black officer did exercise their judgment by not pulling on his weapon. I don't know what was going on. I think at that time, they was trying to evacuate all of the Senate and House members and other executive staff to make sure they were safe before they actually locked down the Capitol.
Right.
Was it just me, or did anyone else feel protective of Muriel Bowser? Because folks from all over blamed her. They thought the DC police force was responsible for protecting the Capitol. They have no idea how this works.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, the thing is, I actually sort of kind of work in the administration, let's say that. And the mayor requested National Guard assistance early in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be clear about that. She does not have the authority to call up the National Guard in DC. It's not under her purview. She has to ask the president to call the National Guard in DC. She
also doesn't have the authority to help out the U.S. Capitol Police. She has to wait until she's invited to get in. Right.
And so the president refused her request. Okay. That came across our knock because we had to stand up our knock early in the day. We took all our people out of the field the previous day, said that you're not going out in the field because we knew this was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, to blame it on the mayor, I think is it's just incorrect, and people just don't have all the facts and so forth. And she's, excuse my French, she's damned if she does, she's damned if she doesn't. You know, she tried to follow all the necessary things that she was supposed to do in terms of bringing, you know, order and preparing for something like this. But when you get a refusal, and then you have someone, you know, people want to make Pence out to be this savior at the last minute, you know, that's just BS. This should have been done a long time ago and so forth. And, you know, it's just unfair to judge her in that way for that. And I'm not a big Muriel, even though I work for him, I'm not a big fan of hers, but in this case, she was doing what she was supposed to do.
Well, I just hope she knows I stood up for her.
Yeah. It was just so, and it was so many moving parts in it. I mean, it's like, you know, they did have to secure the legislators. They had to get them out and take them into their secret places. And that alone is a feat. You know, when I used to work for a federal judge, and we had that when 9/11 occurred, you know, they took the judges away secretly, you know, and we was just sitting there like, okay, so we gonna get bombed, you know, but it's like they had to secure them, you know, and a good thing. I mean, you saw the gentleman, well, no, you saw the thug that was in Nancy Pelosi's office, chilling, looking at her mail, looking on her email, and you saw they got them out very quickly because they didn't even have time to shut down any computers or anything. Their computers their emails were open and everything. So he in there, they ransacked offices. It was just like you said, Jermaine, it was like a movie. I mean, you're still trying to figure out. I know that Number 45 is a reality host, and that's how he has taken on this role. You know, he has signed America up for a reality show that none of us got a contract or getting paid for. And it's like all these people are just characters. And now you have these senators and some of the congressmen and women saying, oh, this is bad and blah, blah, blah. But you all have enabled this man for 4 years. You have also helped push a lot of these crazy conspiracy theories. And still some was there, you know, objecting to the certification. Even after all of this, I mean, 6 out of the 12 decided to, you know, get a heart or whatever, but there still were some objecting. And you're like, what? You know, how did you all, this went way into this morning trying to certify something.
3:40 a.m.
Yeah, something that should have happened much sooner. you know, and I mean, how do you feel about those that what I call they flip flop more than a fish that's out of water?
You know, people want to throw it all on Trump, and Trump is definitely the leader of this movement. But he is. Let's be clear. Trump is who he is. We all know that. We know who he is, and I'd rather actually know the person in front of me is racist than the person who's smiling at me and I don't know. Mm-hmm. So he is who he is. A snake is a snake. All right. The bigger problem I have is the people that are around him, because they are the enablers. He cannot do what he's able to do without the people around him. The senators, the House of Representatives, McConnell, Graham, in House and the Senate, they are the Cruz and so forth. They allow him to do that, and they're so hypocritical. It amazes me how Ted Cruz can get up there and speak so gallantly about the man, but then you play a clip of him when he was running against him, and he, you thought that he was the filth of the world, and he reconciles that. He makes an excuse for it, like, and people say, okay. It's like we've become so immune to what the truth is that we'll just settle for anything,
I think with Cruz, the thing you have to ask is, if he's willing to do that, what does he want? He wants something. He wants to be president. And a lot of those guys hated Trump. Lindsey Graham despised him. What does he want? The other question was, is Trump holding something over his head? Being in DC, one hears rumors, but that's another thing. And so I've discovered it's not always that they've changed, it's that their desire is greater than their hatred for somebody or something. And they will basically sell their firstborn for whatever it is they think they can get at some point. And Cruz wants to be president.
Mm-hmm. Money and power. It's that money and power.
Money and power.
Yeah, power corrupts, and absolute power absolutely corrupts. And we have seen that personified in number 45, because they should have reined him in a very long time ago. But because of things that they want, they're going to appease his base as well, because like you said, they have the ambitions of becoming president or running again for their office. So they're feeling, if we just, jump on his bandwagon, we'll be good. And, he's kind of like a mob boss. So it's no telling what he may have on them, as well. So it's just all murky, and it's just it's like a bad reality show, bad movie.
Well, welcome to Washington, D.C. You're going to find it. You're going to find it here.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's always been here in terms of the politics. We all understand that. But I believe anytime somebody can make Bush look subtle, we all thought Bush. Like, I think about Bush now, and to me, Bush is funny.
I know.
I laugh at some of the things Bush do now. I'm like, you know what? That was a funny dude.
Yeah.
He was like, did he really do that? But he had a respect for the rule of law and the social, not the political norms and the Constitution in terms of what democracy is. Okay, I didn't like his politics and so forth, but he was respectful to the institution in the office that he held.
Right.
What we have right now, I've traveled. Go ahead, Jermaine. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You do it.
I've traveled. I've been traveling around the world since I was in 7th grade, back in the early 80s, right? So, and it used to be when I went places around the world, every time I was proud to tell people I was from America. Like that was you from America? Oh, whoa. In the past, since Trump became president, when people ask me where I'm from, I'm just hesitant to tell them I'm American. You know, and they always say, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" No. From a people like, well, you seem to do well for yourself. You know, got a good job, things of that sort. But that's not what it's not. It's more than that. It has to be. You know, and we have to understand that. Go ahead, Jermaine, because I can talk.
I'm good. I mean, you was going to touch on the same thing I said about how the whole world has been laughing at us for the past 5 years, and even yesterday was even more cynical to them. That how we supposed to be the free world of democracy, the land of the freedom and opportunity, but yet we can't even protect our own leaders. We can't even institute law in our own capital. We can't even have policies in place, like you said earlier, that there is an action plan. You know, they knew that this rally was going to take place. Quite sure that the protesters, if they had a leader, they had to apply for a permit. So all those federal agencies were aware that they were going to be here. So there was an action plan in place for this. They just didn't decide to execute it. And I do have to take my hat off to the mayor. Under the circumstances, she did the best that she possibly could. Now, I didn't totally agree with her as far as when they violated the curfew. To arrest every single person that was standing there taunting the police, walking around, laughing, pointing fingers, getting up in their face. They did absolutely nothing. Then the news media reported that it was like 96 people were arrested and 100,000 people were out on the streets. That's ridiculous. You had and then you had the manpower in place because the National Guard was at your disposal now. You should have arrested every single person that was in that inner circle instead of the police officers were so-called pushing them further down. You should have arrested every last single person that was standing there. At 6:01, everybody should have got arrested that was standing there.
Very true. Very true. And it just kind of really blew my mind because I was like, I saw at one point they were at this hotel and they were just kind of trying to, you know, ask them, can they please go into the hotel? And they was just like still standing there. And they were like, well, can you please, sir, can you please? And I'm like, why are you pleading with them? If it was us, we would clink, clink, thrown in the paddy wagon.
There's the difference. It's more likely that they're strapped. So, you know, they're angry. They think they own the world. I'm going to stir them until I can get whatever I need to get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
True. And it's just, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all because it's like, what's next? I mean, you know, he went ahead and did this little 3-minute thing. Come together. I think he realizes that he's adding to his charges, more charges to his rap sheet.
But he still said
this is just
the election was stolen. He still said
right.
What else?
And he said this is we've only just begun.
Right.
Which is the scary
part. What does that
part.
mean?
Right.
Yeah.
January 20th.
Right. Yeah. What does that mean? We only just begun.
We're going to come. That's a good question. He likes the Carpenters.
You know, and that's why people want to say, well, why? I mean, just go ahead and just let 13 days, just let it go by. But if you don't send a message,
right,
a strong message in some way, you know, then you keep moving the bar in terms of what's acceptable and what's not. People want to keep pushing. Well, you can't arrest me for that because, hey, they did it. Mm-hmm. He did it, you know. I guess I can go up to the Capitol right now and say, look, I'm gonna knock this window out. Going to court. You know, they were able to do it. Why can't I?
Right.
You know, so I'm hoping that the new administration coming in, I think we'll have some competent people.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that the Attorney General, I believe that Biden's not going to interfere. He's going to let that man in that office do what they're supposed to do, and whatever come may be. I just hope that they move down that path to try to seek some, make him accountable in some way, shape, or form. Okay.
Yeah.
And people might be losing the sight of, you know, all these people that could be arrested for this. He can give them all a blanket pardon, much like what President was after Nixon. Ford did for all the draft dodgers and things of that sort when he came into the presidency. You know, all the draft dodgers that, you know, skipped the Vietnam War, it was a blanket pardon. Those were federal offenses. He just gave them a blanket pardon. So that hasn't been talked about in the news. We want to talk about arresting these people, but we have a man in the White House who the last day he's there, he can say, well, I'm a pardon everybody who's been arrested, you know, as part of this demonstration or this riot or this insurrection. I'm going to give them a pardon.
Yep. That's a big possibility.
Yeah.
What frightens me is that he will actually resign. Pence will become president. Pence will pardon
him.
That would be a devastating blow for Pence.
His career is over. He wants to be president too.
You know what? I think after last night, when he took that stance for not actually going against the certification procedures, he actually stood his ground. Was like, no, we're not doing this. So I think he's learned his lesson. Unfortunately, it took this unfortunate incident that happened yesterday for him to see that. I don't think if Congress was to enforce impeachment proceedings right now, because you can't enact 25th Amendment because it's going to take too long to do that. It takes too long. Take too long. However, you don't have enough votes in the Senate to do it right now. But I actually think if they were successful in impeaching the president, and Pence becomes president, I don't think he's going to pardon him. I think he learned his lesson this time because he might want to run for president, and I don't think he wants to sustain on his career.
I think that's why he did the right thing. Frankly, I don't like Pence. I don't trust him, but I think he'll do the wrong thing when it serves him. And last night it served him because history would not have looked kindly on him if he had done what Trump wanted.
Not at all.
And he was supposed to be scheduled to travel out of the country to several countries.
Yes.
And I think that's more personal than quote unquote for the country, you know, doing business. But I'm sure he's probably going to board his plane soon. Or unless, you know, they're trying to ask him to kind of stick around because, I mean, he is the one who eventually had to call in the National Guard.
Correct.
You know, so it's like he just went over Trump, which was quite interesting as well.
What was quite interesting is that Trump had the audacity to get on part of his comments to actually say that I called in the National Guard.
Liar, Pence on fire.
Like, is there an ounce of truth in anything that you say? You know that old back in the McCarthy hearings when the lawyer finally said, "Have you no honor? Have you no decency?
Have you no decency?" Mr. McCarthy, after long last, have you no decency?
Yeah, long last, have you no decency? I think they need to play that on all. Like, this is what I'm trying to. No decency.
May I interrupt this to tell you guys that Betsy DeVos has resigned?
Who's that?
Betsy DeVos resigned.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because of the mob, quote unquote, because of the mob.
I'm sorry. Who's
Just
again?
like Mitch's wife resigned. Okay.
No, not Mitch. Secretary of Education, the one who hates black kids.
I know that. I was
Like
being
I'm saying
sarcastic.
earlier, Mitch's wife
I was being sarcastic.
resigned.
Oh, right, Charles.
Yeah, she resigned earlier today because of the mob. She just
Yeah, I was being sarcastic. I know who she is. I'm like,
Okay.
she wasn't important anyway. So
No,
No, let me
No.
tell you. As far as the people in education concerned, she resigned 4 years ago.
when she started.
Okay, let's be clear. You know how typically when a new administration comes in schools and things there, so you put the president's picture up and so forth.
Uh-huh.
I refused to hang them in the school. You know, they were like, "Well, you can't put all these other people up and not have the president." Well, take them all down.
Okay. Okay.
You know, and DeVos has been nothing but a like she's just been evil as it relates to education, pushing her own agenda for the rich and so forth. And I'm not a proponent of charter schools and so forth. I believe our public school system, if given the necessary backing and funds and so forth, can do for every child. If you so choose to send your child to a private school, then you need to sacrifice and pay for that. As my mom did, you know, as a kid on welfare, living in a projects with 3 other brothers. And I went to her and said, "Hey, I want to go to a Catholic high school." She couldn't afford it. There was no voucher system. She had to go take extra jobs to do that. So I just don't believe, you know, if you so choose to do that, then work, do what you got to do to make it happen. You know.
How do you explain to a child that the President of the United States incited people to overthrow the government?
Imagine teaching that in history. Like, you go through this whole civics thing about, I think we're all old enough to remember those old Saturday movies. I'm just a bill, and I'm on the bill, and I'm sitting here on the Capitol. Schoolhouse Rock. There you go. And you're talking about, you know, the Constitution, the White House, the Capitol, and so forth, insurrection, how we came to, you know, getting our independence. And then you have to cover this chapter about when we had a president who tried to overthrow the government.
Yeah.
Like, how?
Wow.
I don't even know how. And you had millions, 70 million people still voted for that man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm at the end of this section a little earlier. I have another project to get done. So thank you so much for inviting me. I enjoyed this conversation.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You'll see me next time.
All right. Have a great evening, everybody.
Okay, you too.
Okay, take care, Jermaine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. And I used to teach history in high school. That was my first job out of college. And I don't even know how I put together that lesson plan to go over that. Like, history is going to be interesting in how this is written.
Right.
You know,
Definitely.
I'm here long enough to actually see what the books say.
Next year, you'll be here.
Look, he wanted to make a mark. He is infamous.
Oh yeah.
He will be the most losing, the president who's lost the most.
Yes.
He lost about what, 3, 4, 5 times. He also I'm sure they can do the article. They're trying to draw up the articles of impeachment.
Yeah.
So he'll probably be impeached twice.
Yep.
So I mean, he'll go down in history.
Um,
Yeah, he
Definitely our
makes it
next.
smart.
it seems like the analog to this would be Reconstruction if you were going to teach this. So you could, especially since allegedly Cruz, the tactic he used to challenge the electoral college votes was something used back in 1877, to end Reconstruction, the same thing. And so you as a teacher, you could relate those and think what happened. 1877, the end of Reconstruction, horrible times for Black people, make America great. Donald Trump seized the election, horrible times for Black people.
That is true. They challenged states' rights during that time to overturn elected individuals and remove them from office.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. That
You know who I haven't heard from? Evangelicals. I haven't heard from any evangelicals about.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm.
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, because the prophet, they were saying that they said that he was going to win the election. Okay. He was going to win the election. Not that he, it was going to have to go through all of this. Your prophecy is straight. He was going to win the election. It didn't happen. Okay. And they still was trying to push, and the thing about it is that you keep talking about, and that's what I'm saying, he keeps talking about votes stolen when he was the one who was trying to do it. And that's why he is so baffled, because everything that they attempted to do failed with the gerrymandering. Then they tried with voter suppression. Then they tried with he told his people, his base, don't do the mail-in ballots, because he knew what he was going to tell DeJoy to do. So when people started going, well, I'll walk my ballot, to the ballot box. Then they started putting up fake ballot boxes. They slowed down the mail. They took up mail boxes. They stopped the sorting machines. That didn't work. Then they said, oh, let's try the email thing we did with Hillary, but they couldn't really pin it on Biden. So they did Hunter Biden, and that kind of fell flat. So it's like everything that they tried to do failed. So he is so baffled, like, why didn't this work? This is supposed to work this time.
Well, when you have a common enemy, one thing I will give Trump, he will galvanize people to come out against him, because there's nothing better than a common enemy that's going to bring folks out.
Right.
In the Republican Party, they were thinking that, he's going to bring out the votes for the Republicans and things of that sort. But what they fail to realize, same way he brought them out for the Republicans, he brought it out even more for the Democrats. And then the job that Abrams did down there in Georgia.
Yes.
I just hope that they find something for her. Although I still believe that she wants to be governor of Georgia.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately what she does want to do. But you got to give not just Abrams. She was the face, but I'm sure it was millions, thousands of other people down there organizing and getting out. She didn't stop,
Right.
So
yeah, but like you were saying, as far as the evangelical, someone just posted that I don't know. Are you familiar with Vicky Yowie?
Who?
Vicky Yowie. She used to
Vicky Yowie.
Yeah, she used to hit a lot of Black churches. I think she had adopted 2 Black sons or something. But she stated that no, the prophets did not get it wrong. Trump did when the votes were stolen. She said that he won by a landslide, but the votes, all those millions and millions of votes were stolen.
Okie doke.
Yeah, that's what she said. And the thing about it is that you have gone to court after court, majority Republican federal judges threw your stuff out because you had no substantial evidence. You went to the Supreme Court.
You bought
So-
a judge.
Yes, yes, yes. And you thought all this that you set up, but no, they had to go by the letter of the law. And
Yep.
you didn't factor that in.
He didn't count on people having a higher moral character than what he has. He just figured, oh, they'll bend to me. They understand what I did for them, and at
Right.
some point, people have to look themselves in the mirror and hope that you can only hope that they do the right thing.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I frankly thought Brett was going to give him what he wants. This is the guy who goes along to get along.
Yes. I'm kind of with you on that one. Yeah.
In the last, the last lady who was appointed to the bench,
Amy.
Amy,
Barrett.
yeah.
Mhm.
I wish Ruth could have hung on a little longer, because I believe that's what she was staying on for.
Yes.
Or she should have gotten out sooner.
Yeah.
When Obama asked her to, she should have retired.
Yeah, because he understood that that was a time to get someone in there younger and
Right.
so forth. And I feel that she was just trying to hang on, but and that's one of the things that's going to be his lasting impact in terms of how he's changed
Oh, yeah.
the federal or the Supreme Court, and that's going to be for generations. I mean, these people that are on there, they're they're in their 40s, maybe not 40s, 50s.
Mhm.
And
So
she's
you're
what,
talking-
39? The last
Yeah.
Amy
Right.
Coney is 39.
Yeah.
you're talking
Unless
about-
something come up that's impeachable,
41.
Yeah. So you're talking maybe 40 years. That
Yeah.
They can, you can change all types of stuff in that time.
Yeah.
And so they've done we'll say, you think about it, between Bush and Trump, you're talking about 6 of the 9 that they've appointed.
True. And it's like, I mean, and think about all of the federal judges that they have appointed.
Yes.
And tell me, and I'm telling you, I don't see one black judge that they have appointed, and they have
And they're-
appointed over 150.
Right. None. Not one.
Not
And
one.
that's originally what they're trying to get Biden to do, to appoint a judge. So they're hoping they'll appoint a black judge to replace Merrick Garland.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Some people have thrown out Obama's name.
I know.
You
But
know,
he's my boyfriend. He can't do that.
you know.
You said, let him rest, let him rest, let him
Let him
enjoy
rest.
life.
But hey, they decided to keep their house here in DC.
I know.
So hey, I mean, I'm saying he, if he's not on the Supreme Court, which that's a long shot now,
Right.
replacing Garland, that's a lifetime appointment as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
So they're not staying in DC for nothing.
I'm kind of thinking, that it may be something.
They don't have to. Michelle's like, you don't have to campaign anymore.
Nope. Not at all. Just go right on in there.
Yeah,
9 to 5 and
there it is. You get a whole bunch. All you gotta do is read on your time off. You gotta read cases. You can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see, that's people don't really understand what has occurred in these 4 years and how things that he has done is going to affect us for many years to come. And just like people were like, oh, well, I think he helped with sentencing reform and all that stuff. Let me tell you, some of that stuff was already in place
Place, yes.
and when Obama and Eric Holder was there. So people don't know that because they're hearing all of this rhetoric that is untrue. And but him putting all of those judges on the bench, it's going to be felt by Black people, whether you believe it or not. We will feel it.
What he's doing is preserving a culture too, which is part of
Right.
making America great. We're in he's preserving this sort of white supremacy.
White supremacy culture. Yeah.
50, 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we
I mean, when you look at the whites in the country, they're predicting the next 20 years that they will no longer be the majority race in the country. I think, actually, I believe Hispanics or Latinos will outnumber them.
We'll be like South America.
It was Latinos, which means everybody. Everybody thinks Latinos are race. It's not. It's Spanish-speaking people. So that's people who look like us. And that's people Caucasian. It's all Spanish-speaking people, which is why Trump has been cracking down not just on undocumented immigration, but legal immigration. Stephen Miller wanted to return naturalized citizens, and they did return one guy, Black Latino, who'd had some misdemeanor. And he wants to return people from the Caribbean and Africa. And because they know in 2035, they will no longer.
Lenita, your I think your mic or something. You're like, okay,
so,
okay, now speak. Okay.
And that's it too. A lot of this is being driven by fear of no longer being the one on top.
Yes. I mean, they are realizing that they're losing their hold.
Yeah. And they're willing to do whatever in order to maintain that. But I the forces are too great, against them. They're not going to turn back the hands. It's never going to be what you thought it was back in the 40s and 50s and the 30s and things of that sort. That's never going to be that again. But it's a comedy at some point when you see how scared they are of losing control.
Yes.
And then they're willing to do anything, say anything, believe anything.
Believe anything.
Yeah.
So,
that's the thing.
If you're in the minority and you know that you're weaker than everybody knows you are, how do you maintain dominance? You get that thing that's stronger to you than you to believe it's weak. And we're seeing that too. Again, amongst African Americans, Latinos, and others, make us believe and be inferior and feel inferior. We will take care of ourselves and remain there where you want us.
Yep. I mean, they did an excellent job when you look at everybody wants to talk about slavery and things of that sort. And I say, hey, look, white folks did a marvelous job on the African American race here in this country.
Herman Cain.
They made us believe. They took the strongest being in the world. No offense to you ladies, a black man, and subjugated him, and then made the thing that makes him strong, his black female, look at him a different way. And they stripped us of our culture so that we don't even know who we are, and so forth. Okay, and now here we are. Even today, I tell these white folks every day, if I'm at your level in my profession or above you, that you're scared of me. The white man is scared of me because that means, God damn, how great is this man that he could be at my level or above me with all the obstacles that are before him.
Right.
I mean,
right.
They're scared.
That is very true.
That
is very, Very true. And like I said, this whole thing is it is definitely a bigger picture. And they are running scared.
Mhm.
And when that fear kicks in, like you said, they are willing to do anything. I mean, they just look this. The sad part that I feel is that a lot of them mentally are going to have some real mental issues. They're going to have some real mental issues when they also realize that he really does not care about them, and that when he moves on, he's going to move on. And when a lot of things come out about what he has been doing,
Yeah.
it's going to challenge their patriotism, because some of the things that he has done that will be revealed is going to be like, what? How did that happen? Who should have been watching him more closely so that this would not have happened? And a lot of those people, these quote unquote white patriots, are going to have some mental breakdowns because what they thought is not.
I would actually challenge that they're patriots. I think when they call themselves patriots, it may not be what we think of as patriots. Because when they think of patriots, whiteness is always at the center of it. When I think of patriotism, it isn't. And you've seen they've been willing to put up with a lot from him. There's, it's okay. Well, he's doing what I want him to do. I always say this: Jesus will return. Trump would have him arrested and put in a cage as an illegal immigrant, and people would be cool with that. That's how much they need him. They say they love him. I'm not sure they do, but he makes them feel special and he makes them feel white. And that's more important than their values. So it's not necessarily patriotism in any way that we understand. It's a kind of patriotism that means whiteness is at the center of it, which means they have to be at the center of it. So if they have to, and they're not, they need to burn the country down.
You know,
right. And those evangelicals that are trying to use the Christian twist. I mean, what fruits of the spirit of a Christian have you seen this man display? Come on, let's get real. Let's get real.
He's not a Christian. He likes Christians if they're cute and blonde, but he's not.
He wouldn't know a verse in the Bible if he was holding it backwards or forward. He wouldn't know.
Remember, he said 2 Corinthians.
Well, somebody asked him when he was running, "Do you read the Bible for guidance?" No, I'm good. I can guide myself. That's what he said. I can guide myself.
How many books are in the Bible in the New Testament? I mean,
he looks for the red writing and then he closes the book. Doesn't read it. He just looks at it.
Right.
But you know something I thought was always interesting when we talk about. I want to think about something in his early days. He was pushing this whole wall thing. Build the wall. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all these politicians that are going along with him. And I'm saying to myself, they want to talk about how they're the party of Reagan and Reagan this and Reagan that. And I'm saying to myself, well, damn. Didn't we just lobby against a country over in Europe talking about tear down this wall?
Yes.
They didn't get on national TV in the 80s talking about tear down this wall.
Right.
Do you remember that there was a country who's our enemy, our communist, Russian enemy, and they built a wall. And this wall was the image of communism for decades, to keep people subjugated and keep people out. And yet here we are, America, talking about building a wall. And I said, anybody going to catch this? How ludicrous this sounds?
Like,
Right.
we want to build a wall. You
Of
know,
course, during Reagan's time, though, they were still the majority.
yeah, yes.
Around the time that Trump came in, it's your feelings disrespected, you're losing your jobs because of them. So he had a lot more support for his wall because it was about self-interest of his supporters.
And but little do they know, if you don't have immigration coming in, a lot of these luxuries that we enjoy and so forth, who's going to do them?
Right.
You know,
Right.
to this because a lot of these they pay tax. I used to work for ICE, so I used to be down on the border, and I would see these families, these people coming into this. It was a reason. One is a reason that they're trying to get here to escape the poverty that they have in their countries. But the most disheartening time was the time I saw a grandmother who had been here for 30-something years. And this woman had over $40,000 in the bank. She was a working tax-paying citizen, and they were sending her back.
Wow.
Because she was she was an illegal immigrant. And it was so disheartening. She's like, I've been here for over 30 years. What am I going back to?
Mm.
You know, and when you saw the pins that Trump had created to have these people in, and none of this is really getting on the news. And I'm just like, people aren't really seeing this. I wish I could just have my phone here and take pictures, but couldn't do that. But it just was painful. And I'm hoping that Biden comes in, he starts reversing a lot of the mandates or executive orders that Trump had put into place to kind of turn that. You know, we've gotten away from the whole DACA.
I know.
You know, nobody's talking about that. You know, when Trump got elected, I was working in the school, which is high. It had a high population of international students. The day he got elected, the next day, they were gone. They were literally scared to come to school. The parents wouldn't send them to school.
Wow.
You know, it was a genuine fear on their faces that they were going to be coming in. ICE agents were going to be coming into the school and shipping them back to El Salvador and Mexico and Guatemala and so forth. And this is what this man has wreaked on our nation.
Right. In some places, that's what they did. You know, they'd go to the school during the day and talk to the kids because, well, Biden says he's going to change that. So let's hope that's the case. The interesting thing, I found I ran across several African Americans who, because it didn't involve them, you know, they didn't care. Fence, I mean, a wall, that's okay. You know, hey, maybe our wages will go up because that's how they think, the people I was talking to. What they didn't understand is Trump was looking for a lot of people from the Caribbean, a lot of people from Africa. Oh, you know, that's Shanice's husband. Oh, yeah, he's from Nigeria. Oh, you thought he had a green card. Well, he doesn't. Or the woman who does my hair, she's from the Caribbean. You thought she had a green card. Well, she doesn't. And it wasn't until Trump started going in on those populations that the black people I know started to worry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know the crazy thing about immigration? If a boat of refugees from Haiti made it onto U.S. soil, you have to send them back, right? But if a boat of Chinese made it onto U.S. soil, they have a right to stay here. They can
Wow.
it's the word I'm looking for, but they can
Seek asylum? Or
seek asylum. Yes.
I didn't know
You
that
know.
about the.
Yes. It's absolutely crazy, you know, and people don't realize that there's certain, you know, Mexican citizens, when they come across, they can seek asylum. El Salvadorians, you can ship them back.
Wow.
You got some countries, we can't ship Chinese citizens back because guess what? The Chinese government says, we're not taking them.
Wow.
So therefore, unless we want them to come back, and it's crazy. So they sit in these detention centers, and ultimately they have to let them out into the country with hopes that they'll come back for the hearing. They go off and do their thing,
Mm.
you know, and that's the having worked there and seen this, it's like I'm listening to Trump come up with these policies. I'm like, dude, you're not making any sense. Do you realize the reality of what's going on and what laws are in place? What other countries dictate how we can actually treat some of the citizens, when they get to our country? We just can't just say, hey, we're returning them back to you and just drop them off. We have to get permission to send your citizens back to your country.
No, he's lawless, so he's above the law. He just does what he wants.
Yeah, and his wife is an immigrant.
Right.
Yeah.
And her parents became citizens. It's all it's just like, really. Really. And then to for them to claim this is their land, knowing that it was stolen. We all immigrants.
Yeah.
Y'all are immigrants. You're an immigrant. I'm immigrant. We all immigrants.
American was, I can't even say founded. The Europeans who are colonizers, but they came over from England and so forth. And if you look at the English, London and England, the continent of England produces no natural resources, zero. Right. They had to go out and colonize in order to get their wealth. Right. U.S. being one of them. Okay, so the people that came over originally, they were the bottom. They didn't have anything in these countries. They came over with the understanding that they were going to send their riches back to England. And it's crazy how these people forget that you're an immigrant too.
Right.
This is not your country.
No.
Well,
it's almost like South Africans.
Right. Right.
They look at the black folks talking about, this is my land.
But then they bring up manifest destiny. That's how they rationalize it. God wants you to rule you.
Oh God.
Oh God.
In what Bible he said that you wanted the Bible that you wrote?
That's right. That's right.
I mean,
yeah.
The God I serve didn't say that man, you rule over me.
Right.
One person that rule over me, that's God.
Right.
You God? I'm an image of, so God was, this whole, I'm getting off the whole white thing, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, this has really been great. I am thankful for you all being the guests, and we're definitely going to do this again because we're going to have a lot more things to talk about. And I'll definitely let you all know the topics, and then you all can just come on in. But yeah, we definitely need to just be mindful of the truth and try to help educate others. Yes. So they won't get swept up in the craziness and the conspiracies and all of that. And definitely pray. I mean, do you have any parting words before you go, Daryl?
Well, one, I want to thank you for inviting me. Definitely enjoyed it. Look forward to being invited back. Enjoyed meeting new people and things of that sort, and hearing different perspectives and different insights. I want us to continue to pray and hope that we get through these next few weeks and months ahead of us with all the change. I'd be interested to have some Caucasians on the call. I would love to hear their insight into certain things.
Oh, I plan on pulling that off soon.
And I mean, that's to me, I think that's the only way you learn is by listening to people from different backgrounds and different perspectives, and educating, through conversation. So definitely look forward to it. And thank you.
Thank you. And Lanita?
First, thank you for inviting me. This was really fun. Daryl, it was great meeting you. You've got a great sense of humor. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to say the one thing I tell everybody.
Wait a minute, your feedback.
It might be.
Okay.
If you feel helpless, just do one thing. Just be a witness. Don't say, oh, this hurts. I can't pay attention. I can't listen. Even if you don't understand what you're listening to, just be a witness. Because one thing I see on Facebook is you see this QAnon people making stuff up, but they think it's true, but others can't refute it because they don't know how. They don't know what's true. These are people who don't buy the crap, but they just don't know what's real because they don't watch the news, they don't engage, they don't talk. So I'm reminded of Adolf Hitler during World War II. There was a book called Hitler's Willing Executioners. People said, how could he make the people of Germany and well, every place, Austria, Poland, how could he make them do what he wanted? Watch Trump. This is how you do it. Somebody's going to write a book, Trump's Willing Executioners. It's simple. You make them, first of all, you make them feel good. You make them feel good about themselves. You make them feel part of something larger. You make them feel special. You make them feel better than somebody else. Just be a witness to what's going on. It helps if you memorialize it, write it down, share it on Facebook, tell somebody, but don't let the lies prevail.
Amen. I mean, both of y'all are wonderful, great. I'm just happy that you all came on and definitely has given us insight, wisdom, and until the next time, you be blessed.
Hey, Barack will be here with me then, so okay.
All right now.
We'll talk to Michelle about that.
Take care,
Good
lady.
night.
All right.
Bye.